Niko House, Weaponized. I know that doesn't fully make sense, but let's talk about it on the soapbox. Like I said, Niko House has been weaponized. I am your host, Jamarl Thomas. This is the Progressive Soapbox. And let's get into it. I'm not going to take too long on this story because I have a list of stories that I want to go through today. Everything from foreign policy, of course, what's going on in the UK. I want to get into several hit pieces on Sanders, in addition to some of the things that Sanders is putting out. But I also have a Game of Thrones thing that I want to do, that I want to talk about. But this one, Niko House weaponized. Weaponized for what reason? To attack Tulsi Gabbard. Now, this is Niko House. Good looking chat. Not everybody may know who Niko House is. Niko House is a YouTube commentator. He also is, I guess you can say, a political activist. He was working in the Sanders campaign, and if I am not mistaken, he is working hard to get Tulsi on the debate stage. Now, Niko, minding his own business, playing Xbox or something, was captured, taken, fashioned into a brick or club or some other blunt instrument from medieval times, and an ill-guided, ignoble attempt used unsuccessfully, I might add, to hit one Tulsi Gabbard. Over and over and over again, one miss after the next. And yet tries, uses his, I guess you can say, lack of talent to attempt to hit her. Who does this? One gentleman named Charles R. Davis. Now, this piece tells more about Davis, this kind of sad, depraved state of the author, as opposed to anything that's said about Gabbard. Basically, what the piece does is it takes Niko House and it says, Niko House is a conspiracy theorist, and he likes Tulsi Gabbard. There's something sinister there. If you remember last week, I believe, or a week before last, they said Tulsi Gabbard is accepting money from people who don't want war with Russia. The wild part about this is they name like 3 people. Tulsi Gabbard is like 70,000 donations. And yet they bring out these 3 donations of people who don't want war with Russia. And literally, that's what it is. People like Stephen Cohen. Stephen Cohen is one of the brightest people that you would ever come across, especially on this issue of policy between the United States and Russia. He's somebody who probably should be listened to since he knows what's taking place. But mind you, he is one of like 70,000 donations that Tulsi Gabbard had. And yet they pull these 3 donations out. These people don't want war with Russia, and they're supporting Tulsi Gabbard. Oh! I gotta be honest. Of all the things that you can hit Tulsi Gabbard on, this is probably one of the most shallow. You have all sorts of people who donate to all sorts of candidates for all sorts of reasons. If you had 100 people from the worst prisons in the United States, murderers, killers, rapists, and you put them one by one and you say, these are the candidates, this is what the candidates are pushing for, who do you want? I would guarantee you one of the candidates, at least in each of the cases, will be represented by one of those convicts, one of those criminals. The fact that somebody is supporting you doesn't say anything about the candidate. Those candidates can be supported for all sorts of reasons. In Tulsi Gabbard's case, Tulsi Gabbard has been very strident about this thing of, I don't want war. We need to bring down the tensions in these various countries. We are at 2 minutes to midnight on the nuclear clock. We need to have less of that. And you have all sorts of people around the planet who say, especially in the United States, yes, I like that. That's a good idea to me. I like the fact that we're not going to get into a nuclear exchange. I like the fact that she's going to bring down tensions with a foreign policy that seems to kick over other governments. I like that. I'm supporting that person. And Niko, in his case, went to try to get her on that debate stage and did what he could as an activist to do such a thing. What does this say about Tulsi? Nothing. Nothing. Her policies are what her policies are. The people who resonate with that push for that. The catch of the matter is, and the fact of the matter is, whether Nico House is a conspiracy theorist or not is kind of secondary to the point. I don't particularly think Nico House is a conspiracy theorist in the way that the term is used. He may have opinions that go contrary to mainstream media, but in this case, conspiracy theorist is used as somewhat, again, to fashion him as a weapon and to use him to batter Gabbard. It doesn't quite make sense. That's all I'm saying. Whatever Nico House is has nothing to do with Tulsi Gabbard. And again, all sorts of people support candidates for all sorts of reasons. In Tulsi Gabbard's case, anti-war being one of those things that a lot of people in this country have resonated with strongly. And by the way, for Charles Davis to make this opinion, to take this particular disposition, Davis would have to not support candidates who are running in the same vein. Because if you're going to be a hypocrite on this and you're going to support candidates who are either, maniacs themselves or have people that are maniacs supporting them, then this opinion kind of falls short. It means that you're making this for reasons that go beyond just kind of pointing this out. This article is absurd because this article says nothing about Tulsi. And it makes me question the sad, depraved state of the individual that will write an article like this that, again, says nothing about Tulsi. It's a substanceless criticism, if that makes sense. It's a meta-criticism. It's a Tulsi Gabbard is supporting or being supported by. There's no, feedback to that. What I would say, though, is Charles Davis would most likely worship and suckle the buttery nipple of Hillary Clinton if she ran again in 2020. Just like I would strongly wager he was doing in 2016. Which means that if that candidate was receiving or getting praise by maniacs, or even worse, giving praise to maniacs, Hillary Clinton was on a stage. Let's go just two ways. Hillary Clinton was accepting money from Saudi Arabia. Now, you can say this went to the Clinton Foundation. Okay, but I would argue that the Clinton Foundation was a slush fund as exposed by WikiLeaks. And to give a little bit more credence to that, the moment that Hillary Clinton failed in the 2020 election, the money for the Hillary Foundation dried up. She no longer had the political will, or she no longer had the access that warranted them putting money into the foundation to get access to her. That's true. Now, Saudi Arabia was a totalitarian government. Saudi Arabia just beheaded 34 dissidents, many of which were children, and many of which was stupid stuff like Facebook and social media. Hillary Clinton, the Saudi Arabia backed Clinton. Clinton knew that these guys were spreading terrorism throughout the world because you can read it in the WikiLeaks documents where she's responding and saying such a thing. I'm making a point for this. You are dinging Tulsi Gabbard for somebody that was supporting her that you consider a conspiracy theorist, while simultaneously the person who you were backing in that race was getting money from a totalitarian government that was out there cutting heads off, putting them on pikes like in medieval times. On the other side of this, Clinton was also supporting a maniac, meaning Kissinger, out there giving effusive praise to Kissinger. One of the Vietnam War vets makes this strident and infinitely true point that only a nation in deep spiritual and psychological disarray could honor a man with as much blood on his hands as Henry Kissinger. And he's absolutely right. Massacres. Henry Kissinger was responsible and involved in massacres in Bangladesh, Vietnam, Cambodia, Chile, Cyprus. These were all massacres, deaths, killings that Henry Kissinger was involved in. It goes not even in question that he was involved in these massacres. There's so much blood on his hands and she's on stage telling how awesome this guy is. My point is this. You would never write that article. This article is an utter and outright hit piece and smear job using Nico House and whatever you want to call Nico House as a weapon to try to hit Tulsi, even though this article doesn't really say anything about Tulsi. Try harder. There are things to hit Tulsi Gabbard on. This reaches the heights of absurdity. This reaches the heights of absurdity. Like I said, I'm not going to keep this one long. Let me read the chats. Come on. Come on. Jamarl biased. Jamarl is clearly biased because he took money from the aliens, Navy pilots pretended to see to propagate the propaganda on them visiting Earth. Hey, I am getting to that. I haven't got to that. Don't jump ahead of me, buddy. Kills for a living. Tulsi's speech is equivalent to Noam Chomsky. She really has no shot. There's no point in covering her. Dude, I know you know that, but it's nonsense. No, well, not fully nonsense. Noam Chomsky, love the guy, but you're right. And Noam Chomsky has made an argument that's it's biased in and of itself. Chomsky's argument is that you should be calm because you don't want to use emotion to influence the people, your audience. Well, that's because Chomsky talks in this kind of monotone way that doesn't use emotion to influence his audience. It's like, I don't want you to use this weapon that I can't use and access. Well, you can't use and access the weapon, but other people can. And I gotta be honest, the emotional faculty of a human being is aspect of that human being. Of course you're gonna use it. The catch is, what are you using it for good or ill ends? Just like you can make a rational, logical argument that's for the most horrific of ends, the emotional faculty of a human being is going to be used. And it should be. Why wouldn't it be? If things are going horrendous, if there are enemies at your gates, do you really want to give a monotone speech when there's enemies at your gates? No. I want those people to go out there and fight as hard as possible. I want them taking ink pens and bricks. I want them taking anything that they could because they believe they need to defend their homeland, and I need to engage their emotional faculty to do such a thing. Meaning, this notion that you're not supposed to, use the emotional part, I think it's nonsense. I agree with you that she can be monotone. My disagreement here is this notion of getting her on the debate stage. Oh God, man, you have no idea how much I disagree with you on that part. If you're playing chess, let's do a chess reference. The overall objective of chess is to take the king. Yes, absolutely. But there are very few openings in chess that go with this notion of taking the king immediately. In fact, the one or two openings that do ends up putting the person in a poor position the moment that black doesn't respond that way. Meaning, there are small objectives into taking the king. Small individual objectives that take place in various parts of the board within the overall notion of taking the king. Tulsi Gabbard doesn't necessarily have to be this fire and thunder candidate. My goal, is to get her on the debate stage. I want her on the debate stage personally, not because I think she can win the overall presidential election, but because getting her on the debate stage in and of itself is a win. That's a win. It's a win in a minor scale. Part of that minor scale is that I want her on the debate stage making the arguments that she's making. She can be dull as she wants to be, but I want the arguments made, and I want the other candidates responding to those arguments. I want the announcers on the debate stage having to engage the fact that she's saying what she's saying and ask the other candidates what they think about that. That's what I want. How do you not want that? Especially being as a lefty, how do you not want that? How do you not want that debate to take place? Why do you want a bunch of neocons on a debate stage, arguing and setting the limits of the debate between whether we should invade a country or whether we should put sanctions on the country? Why? Why? Come on. Are you serious? Are you serious? All right. I'm going to end this because I have a bunch of other ones that I need to get to, including issues of Julian Assange. And yes, the UFO thing that the Navy pilots keep seeing. Yes. You must understand, this seems to be a concerted effort to breach this issue into the public. And the UFO community knew, because we hear things that you guys don't, that this was going to be an issue for 2019 where they were literally going to try to thrust this into the public light in a way that the people couldn't ignore it. And it seems that is true. The Navy coming out with this is a big deal. The Navy is essentially saying, we're seeing something. It would be bizarre if the Navy say, we're going to start recording information for something that doesn't exist. The Navy also takes this amazing step of saying, Yes, we're seeing something. Yes, we're recording it. Yes, it's amazing because we can't necessarily tell the flight patterns or why it's flying away. We don't see an exhaust. We don't see wings. And yet it's doing things that's, pretty fucking miraculous. But we're not going to tell you what that is. The Navy literally said that. We're going to start recording information for these things. We're going to allow pilots to record that information. But no, we're not going to tell you. We're not going to tell the public. We're just going to tell you that we're recording it. It's the most bizarre thing in the world. All right, I'm going to end this here. If you guys enjoy this content, you find yourself coming back here often. And by the way, the patron appreciation episode is up. It has been sliced. If I'm not mistaken, I think most of them have been sliced. We were having a lot of trouble getting those things up on Monday. And you can see each individual episode that my wife and I partake in. Those episodes are awesome. So definitely you can get those for as little as $1. And if you're a contributor, please let us know because we will give you access to the content. Have you seen Tulsa Memorial videos going hard? Yes. Yes, I have that video. I have that video. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, it's up now. I had it up. I think I might have closed it because I was researching something else. But yeah, I have that video up. My wife and I were binge watching. We were binge watching YouTube last night, and we ended up on this thing of kind of mistakes that people have while they're in the pursuit of doing something else. Like, let's say the guy's doing skateboard, and he's on the skateboard, and he's like going like it's like 80 kilometers an hour, like down the hill in Austria. And, he's doing this thing, and he gets to the point where he's on the curve, and he's like putting his arms out, and he goes around the corner and bam, runs into a car. Like, crushes the car. And the guy gets out the car, and my wife and I like we're laughing our ass off because we know the guy isn't dead, but the guy's like, ah, he's like moaning. And my wife was like, I would fuck him up. I don't care if he's moaning, I would kick his ass. Like, I can't believe he's out there skateboarding. You fuck my car, I would whip his ass. It's like, but you can't because the guy's out there moaning. He's like, ah. It's like, what do you do with that? What do you do with that? You got to help the guy up at that point. Please call for action for Assange. We are his PR. Mr. Broken Ass, that is another video that I have coming up. You guys are jumping ahead of me. In fact, not just that, there's an event that's coming up. One of my friends of the show, Gordon Damat, is going to he lives in the UK, but he's going to the Assange meeting. I was going to use him as my reporter on the scene, but we'll see. We will see. There's just a lot of these topics that I already had on the agenda for the day that you guys are jumping ahead of me on, which sucks. But I'm not necessarily surprised by it. You are my audience, and all of us kind of have this, you're on the same wavelength. All right, so let me end this, and I will see you guys in a few minutes. Like I said, I have a lot of shows for today. Thank you all for joining me. I'll see you guys momentarily. Thanks all.